Previously on The Devil on G-String. Why did Usami appear at that dock tonight? Usami is in contact with his eye Gonzo, so she should have a list of possible victims. People who are affiliated with Kanan, be it through school, skating, blood relation. Even if the list was filtered through, there should have been more than 10 people. And from that, to correctly pinpoint that German ballet dancer as the target. Michael Jugmund does indeed live near the Western District's port. Maybe Usami and the rest were watching his house and discovered Mephistopheles acting suspiciously on the boardwalk. Why? Is it a coincidence? Extremely good luck? If it wasn't, then I have to admit that I underestimated Usami. My eyes met with a woman named Yuki before I'd grasped the situation. As we confronted each other, I noticed that we were around the same height. She had long eyebrows and determined eyes. She had long arms and legs like Kanan. She wasn't at all like an ordinary Japanese person. The black suitcase in her hands conjured images of an able businesswoman in my mind.
Konnichiwa. Watashi wa Tokita Yuki. Anata wa?
This woman, capable of unnerving even the stoic Usami, asked me in a peaceful tone. Kyosuke, as I Kyosuke, you would be...
FBI wa?
Really now?
魔王の背格好だが。
はい、身長は高めです。浅井さんくらいでしょうか。髪型は特に印象的なものでもありませんでしたね。顔をはっきりと見たわけではありませんが、やや前髪が長めだったような気がします。服装は、もちろん私が目撃した時の服装ですが、どこにでも売ってそうな黒いコートに、これまた街のサラリーマンが着てそうなスーツ姿でした。
あえてだろうな。
You mean he went out of his way to blend in with the crowd?
しかし、魔王ばかりを追っていると、思わぬ罠に陥るかもしれんぞ。
おっしゃる通りです。
I see. There might be an accomplice. To a dear comrade, you've already made sure of Azai Kanan's victory, correct? Here's your next task. The target is Kanisaki Ikuko. Leave the arena. Head to the staff entrance. Chaos should erupt when the fans start waiting for the skaters to come out. Indeed, it'll be so chaotic that if someone were to die, no one would be able to tell who did it. Be especially careful when you use the dagger. One would die as if sleeping with a mere slice of the fingertip. A red carpet was being rolled out onto the ice, and the award ceremony was about to begin.
おかしい。最初からおかしかった。しかし唯一の手がかりを追っていくしかなかった。あらかじめ敗北の決まっているチェスのゲーム。
She mumbled, as if talking to herself.
今すぐ止めてください。関係者通用口に向かっている皆さんを。お願いです。早く。
Head.
マジシャンは別に、マジシャンを相手に商売しているわけではありません。魔王は観客の程度というものを心得ています。つまり、我々は遊ばれているということです。
She has a point.
それが証拠に、魔王は物証には細心の注意を払っています。
The evidence trails we've had so far are the cell phone Mao gave you and the threat letter. Only 2. True, we couldn't get any clues from that throwaway cell phone.
脅迫状もそうです。
You mean that style was intentional?
すべて、万一脅迫状が警察の専門家の手に渡った場合を想定してのことです。
Hey. Yeah. How are you? What? Your health? That doesn't sound very good. Yes, I'll take some time to visit you. Please take care of yourself. It was a very long phone call. What a nightmare. I wish I could fly over to Mom's side right now. But Lord knows what Gonzo would have to say about that. He just demanded that I find Maul. Even if my mother's ill, there's not a damn thing I can do about it. Damn it, Gonzo. Just as I have changed my name to Azai and discarded my past, Usami must have something of her own that drives her. When it's time to lay the cards on the table, will I tell her? It's been so long since I felt so sentimental. Is it because I've been thinking about such unusual things? That night, in my dreams, I saw my mother. The guilt tore at my sleep like a beast within me.
俺の群れに加わりたいだと。
Yes, please.
なら、母親を置いて俺と来い。
Leave Mom? There's no way I could do that.
その女はしばらく札幌にでも送る。どの道お前らは一緒には暮らせない。
That unanswerable statement stopped me dead in my tracks.
お前もどうせどこかの施設に預けられる。
The demon's words were absolute in my ears. I believed sincerely that whatever future he saw for me was indeed my destiny. Mom. Our eyes met. As I think back, my face must have been a spectacle of submission and exhaustion. And so it continues. Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Sucky Life of Rich Boy Yakuza Kid, Kyosuke, aka the Devil on G-String. So, I'm wondering what kind of Devilman shenanigans we're going to be in for today this time. And on top of that, unless I'm misreading her facial expression, Kanon here looks like as though she's expecting me to feed her or something. Am I right, Kanon? Are you expecting dear Kyosuke here to feed you, despite his discomfort at the idea of you even sharing the same room as him right now? Come on, tell me I'm right. Boost my ego a little bit. The first thing I did the next morning was send a letter and some cash to Mom. After I got home, I dangled the DVD I rented in front of Kanon. Oh yeah, that's right. You were gonna just have a lazy day here in the apartment. It's the one you wanted.
ご苦労
Thank you. Kanon gets up really early. And despite the fact that she's taken a day off, she still bothered to take the time to perfect her personal appearance this morning. Would you like some pastries?
気が利くね。でも水でいいです。
She might look like a complete fool, but she still takes good care of her body. Well then, I'll be in the study.
一緒に見ようよ。
No. Killjoy.
はい。
At least she doesn't mind. She knows where the line is. Just shout if anything comes up. I pressed the play button on the DVD player and disappeared into the study. After around 2 hours, I returned to the living room. And I'm going to bet she didn't watch it at all, because she wants to watch it with dear Kyosuke. The movie's credits were rolling up on the screen. God damn it. I hadn't heard anything for a while, so I thought she might have fallen asleep again.
見終わりました。
I can see that. Oh, how was it?
泣いた。
You did not, you liar. You fell asleep, didn't you?
見てたよ。最後ママが死んじゃった。やっぱりいい人が死ぬと悲しいね。
Sounds like a really depressing movie. I see. I haven't seen it.
ちょっと質問。
Okay, shoot. Huh? What?
この映画はママがいい人でしたが、もし悪い人だったらどうなるの？
You mean... Okay, so what you're actually asking is... Would I cry for the mother if she was a bad person instead of a good person when she dies at the end? Is that what you're actually asking? I don't know. It'd make the movie kind of tedious, I guess.
グダグダか。
I mean, if a bad person dies, people just scoff and move on, right?
だよねー。だよねー。
What's on your mind, Kanan?
さーて、次は何して遊ぼうかな。何したらいいと思う？
Someone tells me that she's contemplating the possible death of someone she may consider to be a bad person, perhaps? Not saying that she's contemplating murdering anybody, but rather, you know, the morality behind such a person dying and maybe how she would end up feeling about it if that were to actually happen. You know what I mean? How about we grab some lunch?
どこ行く？
I don't know yet, so let's just head for Central Boulevard for now. I bet it's gonna be that one shop.
わかった。用意するね。
She thundered off to the washroom. She's pretty passive for someone so selfish. You would know, wouldn't you? I was very uncomfortable taking Kanan out. You're very uncomfortable just being around her. The girls on the street always point and whisper, and even the middle-aged salarymen look at us with pursed lips. Look, Kanan, can you take like 3 steps away from me?
嫌です。
Okay then. Please? The situation's looking pretty bad right now.
もう、兄さんはネクラだな。そんなに注目されるのが嫌なのか？
Well, at least yours. Sure do. I'm petty like that.
こんなんじゃデートできないじゃないか。
She followed behind me, pouting. We eventually made it to the cafe I usually go to. Nevertheless, the waiter still recognized Kanan. His eyes shot open. Also, pick up the phone because I called it in regards to which restaurant we'd be going to. Because I'm pretty sure that the the background artist couldn't be bothered to draw up any more. Restaurants, I mean.
ここ、兄さんと前来たね。
Gotta work within your budget. You did?
1年前に。
I remember that.
あの時兄さんはのんちゃんに告白したんだよ。
Quit pulling my leg. She giggled and stuck out her tongue. What do you want to eat?
任せる。
I knew you were going to say that. Then why'd you even bother asking? I picked up some random dishes and turned back to Kanan. Hey, what the? Wake up! You can't sleep here. She had suddenly closed her eyes. Maybe she's meditating.
あ、ごめん。瞑想の時間だなーって。
I was just joking, but okay. I guess she actually was. Meditation?
イメージトレーニングね。これ大事。飛べるっていう自信がつくの。踏み切り方、流れてる曲、飛んでる時、着地、全部成功した時のイメージするの。
Ever the professional. Wait, so when you're sleeping in class, you're...
うん。大概リンクの上にいるね。魂は。魂
I suddenly felt like giving her a few more respect points. You really are something else, aren't you?
うん、すごいよ。のんちゃんが間違うことないもの。
That's a bold thing to say.
そうかな。みんな人が何言うかなんて興味なくない？何したかじゃない？
They care when it comes to someone as famous as you. When someone like you says even the littlest thing, the whole world gossips about it.
だから兄さんは好き。兄さんはブーブー言いながら、なんだかんだでわがまま聞いてくれるもん。
Well, she's got you there. While giggling, she reached over to try and poke my face. I pushed away her hand and continued. I know that you're always thinking about skating.
というか、スケートしか知らないしできないの。
You're pretty laid back, you know that? Still, It's probably good to know what you can and cannot do. Why did you start skating?
コーチがやれって言ったから。
Now that's a little too laid back. Was that your only reason?
それよく言われるな。みんなドラマ求めてくるな。
There's nothing wrong with people wanting to hear some great story about your introduction to skating.
強いて言えば、
If you had to give a reason.
女の日本人でも世界一になれそうなスポーツだったからかな。
Ah. Foreigners and Japanese have radically different physiques after all. And why did you have to be the world's best?
さあ、それもコーチが毎日言ってたからかな。
So it's all thanks to Ikiko-san's brilliant education.
だって毎晩寝る前に絶対自分のオリンピックの時のこと話すんだもの。
Ikiko-san came in 6th, right?
金メダルだったはずだって言ってるよ。当時はロシアとアメリカが仲悪かったからとか。
And what exactly do international politics have to do with getting the gold? Quite a lot, as a matter of fact, if you are in any way savvy about international sports history, like the Olympics and whatnot. In fact, a literal war between two different countries started over a dispute relating to an Olympic Games, if memory serves. I forget what the war is called, though, and which countries fought it, but I think it was like almost a century ago at this point, at least.
ちょっと前まで6点満点で審判の人が点数つけてたの。今みたいに技術を分析する人とかいなくて、審判の人の思い込みで大概決まってたの。
Right.
コーチが言うには、アメリカの審判がコーチに高い得点つけそうだったもんだから対抗してロシアの人が点数を下げたって。
Talk about petty. Seems like it was going to give a high score. What? Don't the judges, judge together at the same time? How would anyone know if the American judge was going to give a high score? Well, the only way that could possibly happen is if they were going to discuss the scores ahead of time or something. Like, it's kind of a predetermined what kind of score I'm likely going to give this candidate or that candidate, that sort of thing.
ロビージャッジングっていうのがあるの。リンクの外で大会の役員とか審判とかコーチとかがチャーシバいて雑談してる中でなんとなく分かっちゃうんだって。
There, see? There's even a term for it. Lobby judging. Oh, come on. If a judge came up with some ridiculous score, then his life as a judge would be over. Only if you get caught, though.
でも国に帰れば英雄だって。なんか怖いね。
Scary indeed. But the current judging system is fine, right?
どうかな。今その審査点方式に変わったばっかりだからね。選手もコーチも審判の人も慣れてないからね。ぶっちゃけのんちゃんも細かく知らない。
How recently are we talking about exactly? Whoa.
でも一人くらいいたずらしても無駄だよ。最高点と最低点をカットしてその後平均点を出すから。
But if half the judges cheat, then you'd be doomed.
のんちゃんが万が一負けたらまずそういうことだね。
Well, I guess that's a very limiting perspective. The only reason I could lose is because the other side cheated. Filled to the brim with confidence until the very end. At that moment, her rice omelet arrived.
どれどれ、のんちゃんミシュランが星をつけてあげよう。
And just what do you plan on awarding your honors to?
まず兄さんのネクラド。星0。
A very well-deserved score. Why me?
兄さんお箸取って。
You don't use chopsticks for omelets.
兄さんのツッコミ。星0。
I'm getting mad now. Good. Let the hate flow through you.
普通に言われたからね、今。
Hurry up and eat. I have an appointment later this afternoon.
はーい。
The sun was already setting by the time the good news came. After escorting Kanan home, I went up to the company headquarters to investigate the Shinye group's most recent movements. You found him? The call was from Horibi. Apparently he already reported to Gonzo. Already? I really have to hand it to these guys. I should have known their senses would be exceptionally sharp among these familiar streets. But even though you got his address, you still didn't catch him. Horibi continued as if ashamed. It went like this. A debtor told Shu that he had seen the accomplice. Shu had spread the word that any information would warrant a reward, and that debts could be nullified in part. It was only a verbal agreement, of course, but those ever hungry, soulless slaves of money nevertheless mobilized with bloodshot eyes and searched for Mau's accomplice. An address turned up in the outskirts of the central district, where my apartment was. Earlier this afternoon, as Shu was searching around, he stumbled upon his prey. Shu gave chase immediately, but was attacked as he turned a corner and lost his target. Who attacked him? Afterward, Horibi rounded up a search team and put some brutal pressure on the people living nearby. After countless interrogations, they finally found the man's apartment. Ooh, that does not sound good. I can only imagine the cruel smile on Horibi's face right about now. Alright, I'll come join you right away. Mephistopheles, I have learned thy true name. Now, if I can only get a last name, I can write down in a little special notebook I got. Horibi's dark laugh screeched to a halt as I hung up. I immediately contacted Usami and headed toward the scene. "8 p.m. The place had already been searched. It was a cheap room in a cheap building, and it was utterly unsettling. Black. The table, cabinets, carpet, everything was pitch black. Guess he really likes black. Construction paper was pasted over the windows, making it impossible for light to seep into the room. On one of the walls hung a scroll with the characters for Empire drawn in calligraphy. His shelves were lined with massive amounts of books in that same vein, probably serving to fuel his anti-societal ideals even further. The fact that everything was in neat order only added to the eeriness. Hello. Usami charged in, gasping for air. You're more than late. Was it your part-time job?
はい、今日ばっかりは休めませんで。で、どうなりました?
We found the scumbag's nest. I gave her a rundown of what happened.
なるほど。西条というお名前で。で、ヤクザの皆さんは?
Horibi is leading him to Tokyo Station right now.
東京駅? 新幹線ですか?
Yeah. Apparently the punk is trying to escape to Hakata.
博多って言うと民じゃないですか?
Fukuoka, you idiot. Why did you think of ancient China?
しかし、どうして行方が分かったんです?
I searched the creep's room just now. Horibi didn't touch anything once he saw the room was empty, and left the rights to search it to me. The first thing we noticed was that the safe had been emptied. The door was left open, and there was nothing but a seal stamp left inside. The closet was open too, and clothes were scattered everywhere.
なるほど。荷物一式持って逃げ去ったと。で、 どうして豚骨ラーメンの国へ逃げたと？
The computer was still on. He really was in a rush.
うん。
And he was online too. The browser was still open.
西条は逃げる直前まで何のサイトを見ていたんですか？
The blog of some random entertainer.
まさか藤原。でもそれはフェイクでしょ？
I thought so too, so I checked his history.
さすがです。
That brought me straight to the Japan Railway's website. I also looked at his search strings and discovered that he had looked up information about getting a seat on a bullet train to Hakata.
今8時ですが、西条はもうとっくに新幹線の中ですか？
You really gotta make it a point to clear your internet history from time to time. Just saying. I'm afraid so. The creep left at 4:30.
4時半。それまたどうして？
His phone. I hit redial and a taxi company picked up.
なるほど。会社に問い合わせてみたところ、西条は4時半頃にタクシーを1台、アパートの前に手配していたんですね。
It takes him around an hour and a half to get to Tokyo by taxi. Less than that if you change to a train somewhere along the way.
今8時ですか。困りましたね。
I don't know if we'll make it or not, but I sent a few people to Haneda Airport in Tokyo.
新幹線で5時間の道のりも飛行機なら1時間半くらいですからね。なるほど。博多駅で待ち伏せするわけですね。さすがに浅井さんは手際がいい。
Usami nodded in appreciation, but then lifted her finger.
しかし、落とし穴がありますね。
I know. He searched for the bullet train which terminates at Hakata, but that doesn't mean he's going to get off at Hakata.
素晴らしい。
All we know is the name of the train line Saijo searched for. I sent people to Yokohama, Nagoya, Osaka, and all the other stations to cover all the bases. Zaigonzo's Sonoyama group is a huge organization with over 1,000 people. Certainly, one would need a good number of people in order to secure so many exits, but these people almost lost a blood brother to this man. Thus, no matter how long the journey is, they would bear the suffering. Still, if you really escape to Western Japan, we're in quite a bit of trouble.
はあ、ヤクザさんには領土ってのがあるんでしょうね。
Excuse me. She's right, though. In Akata, which isn't part of our territory, Soa men can't just go around grabbing people off the streets like they do here.
だからこそ博多ですか。明太子も美味しいですしね。なかなか考えていますね。
Are you hungry, Usami? She bent down and she joked around. Looks to me like you got something interesting in that garbage bag of... No, wait, that's not garbage. I see a logo on it. Shopping bag. What are you doing now?
ゴミ漁りです。
Never mind, I stand corrected. That is a garbage bag. Don't tell me you're hunting for clues.
ええ。部屋の中は浅井さんがしっかりと確認してくださったと信じていますので、自分は汚れ担当ということで。
Don't bother, I'll do it. Waiting in the putrid pile of garbage, she tore open bags with a perfectly calm expression.
ありました。大日本がどうとか書かれたノートの端切れです。この袋が西条の出したゴミですね。
Huh? You knew what?
いえ、西条は魔王に指示された内容以外では割と無防備なのではないかと思いまして。魔王のレールの設計図はともかく、レールを敷いている人間がミスを犯していることに期待します。特にゴミです。普通に生活している分には気にもしないでしょうが、ゴミの山は証拠の山です。
She plunged her hand into the bag, closely examining the contents. A mountain of evidence. But Saijo is already on a bullet train.
ええ。浅井さんの言うことには一応の筋は通ってますね。
Is there something still bugging you?
できすぎているような気がするんですよ。うわ、くさ。お風呂たっぷり入んなきゃ。
Hey, what are you calling easy?
パソコンの電源を消し忘れるほど慌ててたんなら、最初からつけなきゃいいのにと。
Because he was likely doing some computer stuff by the time trouble came his way?
芸能人のブログなんてフェイクをかましてくれたわけでしょ。本当に慌ててたんですかね。
She has a point. There was no real need for him to check the railway website from his own room. It'd be far safer to find a random internet cafe while on the move and search for information there.
そもそも新幹線の空席情報なんて調べますかね。年末ならともかく自由席なら立ってでも乗れますし。
That's logical.
しかし西条の心理的になるべく遠くに逃げたいと思っていても不思議はないです。人間テンパると何するか分かりませんし。
Perhaps I was a little hurried too. Sorry. I guess I was so focused on getting the clues that I got careless. There's a good chance that Mao's true goal was to mislead us into thinking that his man was on his way to Hakata. Usami didn't speak, but merely shook her head in response. Suddenly, her face stiffened. She picked up a piece of paper.
浅井さんたちは何時くらいにこのアパートに来たんですか？
I show up a little after 6. Horibi got here a bit earlier. Usami stared at the dirty piece of paper.
本日5時頃配達に伺いましたが、留守でしたので、とありますね。
What the fuck? Someone left him a note? Usami nodded.
不在票を捨てたということは、西条は少なくとも5時過ぎまでは家にいたということです。
That's right. If Saiju had left at 4:30 as I had guessed, then the note would be in the mailbox, not in the garbage. The cab was bait. He only called it. He never got in.
いえ、乗車して少しの距離を走ったところで降りたのでしょう。そうしないとタクシー会社の人も浅井さんに何か言うはずです。
I wish I'd asked for a specific drop-off location when I called. No, I'm not the police. There's no reason for them to tell me. He got out nearby, and when he got back to his room, the note was there, right?
ええ。しかしこれは大きな手がかりです。
Usami clenched the note in her hands and stood up. If he didn't get the package, then it means Saijo might come back for it.
それは考えにくいですね。ヤクザさんに追われているという事実は揺るがないのですから。
Improbable, but not impossible. So you mean?
はい。荷物の配送先こそ西条の新しい潜伏先です。
Usami took out her phone and dialed a number on the ticket.
あ、もしもし。ええ。伝票番号ですね。はいはい。265。
It looks like she's being forwarded to speak with the driver directly.
ええ、先ほど再配達をお願いしましたね。あ、私は西条の妹です。ええ。兄はどこに荷物を届けさせましたかね。兄が忘れちゃったみたいで。はい。中央区のプラザホテルですか。そうですか。ありがとうございました。あ、いえいえ。そのままそこに届けてください。
The call ended. The Plaza Hotel?
ええ。わかりますか？
I do. I'll send some people over there right now.
お願いします。出入り口をしっかり固めて、ぜひとも捕まえなければ。
Alright, I'll give Gonzo the scoop and ask for more men. After sending Haribi and the rest of them on a wild goose chase, I'll have to personally apologize anyway.
わかりました。それでは。
Usami handsomely dashed out into the night road. Well then, I suppose I've got things to do too. It's not like there aren't any variables whatsoever. Naturally, my plan is perfect, but the choice of executor may present some problems. The phone in my chest pocket began vibrating. It was my loyal prince of hell, Mephistopheles, Saijo. Did you delete the email I sent you?
ああ、きちんとパソコンから消去した。
However, if the police become involved, they may be able to recover deleted data. I'll just remove the computer entirely from his room later. What do you think of the hotel? I hope you're satisfied with their accommodations. Saijo seems to be very upset.
気を悪くしないでほしい。魔王の実力を疑うわけではないが、本当に大丈夫なのだろうか。
Whatever do you mean?
連中の嗅覚は生半可なものではない。ヤクザどもはすでに私のアパートを探し出しているだろう。
That's correct. But didn't you foresee this and lay traps?
ああ、しかし、ヤクザどもは気づいてくれるだろうか。
If they can't even solve a problem on that level, then there's no need to worry about them.
そう言われると安心する。いや、すまなかった。
It's still too early to relax. There will be no problems, I promise you. As long as you don't make any stupid mistakes, that is.
それで次の計画だが。
Right. I didn't finish last time. Haru stood silently on a sidewalk outside of the hotel, staring at the entrance, completely still. Kyosuke had called a moment ago. Kyosuke had to accompany Gonzo, so he couldn't come to the hospital personally. However, he sent every nearby member of the Sonoyama group to her aid. The young men sitting on the guardrail looked like they were playing on their cell phones, but each and every one of them was actually watching the hotel's entrance. After 10 o'clock, the sea of people thinned out, and almost 20 devilish-looking men appeared. After a few words of greeting, they immediately began preparations for raiding the room. The underground parking lot, the 4 exits of the hotel, and the fire exits were all covered. All possible escape routes had been sealed. Perhaps the men simply had incredible discipline, as they all set out to do their respective duties without a word of complaint. Someone had already gone in disguised as a would-be guest and got Saijo's room number from the front desk. The only thing left was to charge in. Haru's thoughts raced as she walked through the hotel's marble hall. Silence reigned over everything. Perhaps it was simply excellent insulation, but not a speck of sound escaped from the numerous doors. Why did Mao choose to work with Saijo? With an accomplice, a criminal can achieve much more for sure. However, at the same time, more issues also arise. Often, a brilliant plan by a brilliant criminal is ruined by a stupid henchman. Things just didn't add up. Naturally, Mao had thought this out. He would have properly planned ahead of time. Even if Saijo did get captured, he would still make his escape. Nevertheless, bits and pieces of his plan would be pried from his accomplice's mouth. So why?
ここだな。
A man escorting her murmured. He was a portly man. A golden chain gently dangled around his fat neck. Before Haru knew, she was already in front of the room that Saijo had reserved. Words softly floated from her mouth.
ノックしてもらえますか？自分がドアの覗き穴の前に立ちます。
Saijo already knows what Haru looks like. Even so, her image would be less apt to cause a panic than that of a Yakuza thug. She took out a white scarf from her skirt pocket and applied a bit of makeup. If she brings her face really close to the door, then the person inside won't see her clothes. Her fat entourage stood in front of the door and made a light fist. He knocked. What's going on? My grip tightened on the phone as I was speaking to Saijo with.
今
At this hour,
あルームサービスだろうか
be careful. Take a good look at them through the peephole first. Saijo's breathing dominated the phone signal for a few moments.
女だな若い女
A woman?
白い帽子だろうか服装はよく見えないな
Surely it isn't. Do you recognize her? He saw Usami once at the harbor.
ないな
A vague answer. I remembered Usami's outrageous hair. Perhaps this was all within her calculations, but without that hair, the girl would look radically different.
届け物だろうか
Don't count on it. I spoke flatly. I've never known a delivery person to bring something at midnight. Perhaps sensing my caution, Saijo also lowered his voice.
どうする
Does she have any intention of leaving?
ないなじっとこっちを見てる微動だにしないと言っていい
If that's Usami, then why? A shiver crawled over my body. How could she possibly have discovered this hotel? I have something to ask you. This may be the last time I speak to Saijo. Did you clear out all the garbage in the room?
もちろんだ部屋に残さずゴミ袋に詰めてゴミ捨て場に投棄した
Figured it out yet, Devil Man? Then, answer her. Open the door.
いいのか
Yes,
分かった一度電話を切るぞ
right. There's no other way. If they chase him this far, there's nowhere to run. Those Yakuza, the Sowa Alliance, will have already sealed off all exits. Not even a drop of water can escape their barricades. Locking himself in would only buy time. The knocking continued. But after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, there was still no answer. She couldn't even feel the presence of a living person in there. Though she'd begun to waver, Haru contacted the front desk. She suggested that the man inside might have collapsed. The management informed her shortly thereafter that no one was answering the phone either. After telling them of her intentions to check inside the room, a building manager finally came to meet her with a set of keys. The door swung open. Why? Haru bit her lip hard as crushing defeat gnawed at her heart. My terrible assumptions were unfounded. The phone rang once more.
魔王大したことじゃなかった
Well, that's just unfortunate. Saijo wouldn't be called so quickly after being apprehended. I can safely posit that he's safe.
フロントの者が私が落としたパスポートを部屋まで届けに来てくれただけだったすまない
That's probably because you packed your things in such a hurry. Nonetheless, it's a good thing that it's good that nothing happened.
どうしてこのビジネスホテルの場所が分かったのかと肝が冷えたよ
Your pursuers should be dashing to the Central District's Plaza Hotel right about now. I was just worrying too much. In other words, I had overestimated Usami. Not quite, dude. Usami could only go as far as the Plaza Hotel. She couldn't possibly have predicted that Saijo might be in this cheap hotel in the Eastern District.
あえてミスを装えと魔王は言ったな。
Yes. Ever since the incident at the arena, they had begun to underestimate you.
魔王の助けがなければこうまでうまく逃げられなかっただろう。よくとっさにあんな手を思いつくものだな。
You were the one who told me your luggage was set to be delivered this afternoon, correct? That was a great help. The delivery notice was left as bait. The delivery man was sent to the wrong hotel on purpose. To a hotel where Saijo checked in, but never stayed. Instead, Saijo went into the Plaza Hotel and entered his room once, and then he left immediately and went to the Eastern District.
私は今度こそ魔王の指示通り全てをやってのけた。博多行きを匂わせるようなウェブサイトを巡り、検索エンジンにも履歴を残し、最後は芸能人のブログを開いておいた。
Don't forget the cab at 4:30. That way, even Yakuza could infer that you were going to Hakata.
けれど、実際にはタクシーはすぐに降りてアパートまで戻る。そして不在票を手に入れる。
It was a bit of a dramatic masterpiece. A play that suggested he had left despite staying right where he was.
不在票をゴミ袋に詰めて捨てれば、私のミスを探していた連中が必ず探し当てて宅配業者に連絡すると。
Usami's limit was right there.
裏の裏を書いたわけだな。
You left her the clues. All we really gauged was how Usami would interpret them. In the end, the children found an answer, and, intoxicated with happiness, stopped searching for the truth. The Yakuza heading for Hakata, Usami heading for the hotel. They're all the same.
鮮やかなものだな、魔王。
Oh, please. That wasn't modesty. You know of Xing Liang's empty fort strategy. At first glance, it's a brilliant tactic, with a ruse within a ruse, but it's actually nothing more than a pathetic getaway scheme. In the end, the fact that Saijo is being chased by the Soa Alliance hadn't changed. It doesn't really matter whether or not this battle is won. Well then, let's continue.
ああ、その宇佐美という少女だったな。
I muster all the coldness I could. Let's kill her. Usami, I really do hope that your devil sense is in tip-top shape.
揃いも揃って使えねえ奴らだな。
What are you bitching about now?
すいません。
Don't apologize to this twat. Yeah, we're real sorry. Did you forget our divinity, Kyosuke? Us apologizing to this freaking miscreant? Eiichi put on airs of importance the next afternoon.
一体いつになったら女紹介してくれんだよ、宇佐美さんよ。
Oh yeah, that. I forgot all about that actually.
ですから近日中に。
もういい加減正体ばらっちゃうけどさ、俺ちゃんって相当な悪なんだよ。穴があったら入れたい年頃なんだよ。もう待てないっつうの。
You know, you can always just get a tool or something from a nearby department store and just poke holes in the ground if you want to penetrate shit, right? And yes, I know what he actually means. I'm just making fun of him. It's only been 2 days, and he's already impatient as hell. Alright, tell you what, I'll help you find your dream girl.
今日のところはご勘弁を。
This Joker's mood is just a disaster today. What's got you all riled up this time?
いやお昨日久しぶりに親父と飯食ってたのよ。
You mean a long time since you had dinner with your father? A long time since you met up with your father? Or what? You have a dad.
あれ確か施設で育ったとか聞きましたけど。
んなもんは全部ブラフだよ。僕の親父はホテルのオーナーやってるよ。
Seriously?
中央区のプラザホテルもグランドホテルもトップオブトマン別も全部親父のもんだよ。
Why do I have a feeling that this information and your father is going to become crucial to us finding Devil Boy later? Which, and yeah, I'm taking to calling Seijou Devil Boy because, well, he is just the boy to Devil Man. So, yeah, Devil Boy. You're shitting me.
嘘だと思うなら今度一泊させてあげようか。
I glanced at Usami.
マジっぽいっすね。
I didn't know at all. I have heard of a hotel owner named Aizawa before, but who would ever believe that he was actually Eiichi's father? Wait a second. So for all that calling me rich and pampered, you grew up in a wealthy household too?
おめえと違って親父は厳しいんだよ。爬虫類禁止だぞうちは。ありえなくね？
I see.
それでその親父がよ、夜中の2時くらいに帰ってきたと思ったら仕事の愚痴を始めやがってよ。
プラザホテルのことですか？
なんかさ、客の一人が消えたらしいんよ。確かにチェックインしてるんだけど電話も繋がらないし住所もデタラメでさ、これ警察もんだなと思ったら部屋のキーも宿泊代もベッドの下にあったんだってさ。
Well, looks like this information is going to be useful to us a lot sooner than I was expecting. You didn't call the police, did you? There was nothing stolen or anything after all.
親父に言われたよ。あんなもんでホテルの評判悪くなったら客が来なくなるだろうが。ついでにそんな現場の話をいちいちオーナーの俺様にあげてくんなってな。
That is a lot of text for what sounds like very few actually spoken dialogue.
俺に言わせればそんな仕事の話をいちいち息子にあげてくんなっつうの。これは俺も飛行に走るわ。
Oh, come on. Your father's a good person. You should take a lesson from him. You should do more than just take a lesson, if you ask me.
おめえらボンプには理解できない悩みだろうな。
You're the mortal here, boy. Eiichi just kept on sulking. Nothing would stop him now. Then let him stew. We got more important things to do. So that means we were completely played.
ご迷惑をおかけしまして。
After class was over, Usami and I held a strategy meeting. About that Seijou.
はい。
I asked Gonzo about his so-called Great Japan Revolutionary School. He said he never heard of it.
よほど規模が小さいのでしょうか。
Who knows? These organizations are a dime a dozen.
では、組織の線から西条を追うのは難しそうですね。
Yeah. In the meantime, Haribi and his crew are coming through the inner city's hotels. And not just the hotels, but subway stations, under bridges, and any other places a person might be staying. They're even checking vacant office buildings.
西条はすでに県外に逃亡している可能性もありますが。
Yeah, I hear you. The creep's probably scared to death of the power of the Soho Alliance by now. Seeing as how that might be the case, Gonzo issued orders last night to send over 100 people out of the prefecture to cooperate with the local gangs and collect information about Mau and Saijo. When you attack on the upcoming battle with this Shinye group, the Somiyama group has its hands full. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give the title of Devil Boy to Kyosuke here. Because he's basically the boy to the devil man that occasionally likes to come out and play and just play around and screw around with everybody's shit. Saijo for Mephistopheles here. That works just fine for me.
私にできることといえば、
Isn't waiting for news the only thing to do? To be more precise, since we failed last time, we can't make rash movements anymore.
原点に帰りましょう。 カノンは NKH 杯で優勝しました。魔王の言いつけを無視した以上、母親の育子さんの命が狙われているはずです。
That's why we're searching for Saijou in the first place.
ですよね。
She's being kind of vague about this. Saijou's a chess piece Mawu prepared for this match. The use of an accomplice represents a potential risk, but also a corresponding return to go along with that risk.
つまり共犯者がいて初めて成り立つ手口で育子さんを狙っていると？
We have to work under that assumption. If Mao could do it himself all along, there'd be no need to recruit someone else. Therefore, Saijou must still be within the city. Isn't that right?
やっぱりそうですよね。西条を捕まえれば魔王の計画を破綻させられるかもしれない。
I sneered. What's wrong? Getting depressed already?
あ、いえいえ、まさか。自分がナイーブになったのは財布を落とした時とペンギンも交尾をすると知った時です。
I'm sorry, but you got depressed over learning that penguins mated? Sami, where do you think they come from? Where they came from before, before learning this. This girl's got a screw loose. For once, you and I are of the same opinion on her.
自分はもう一度西条のアパートを漁ってみるとします。
It's okay, Usami. I still like you. Alright, don't do anything rash.
分かっています。一応私も被害者候補の一人ですからね。
After her statement, Usami prepared to head home. The happy sound of children's laughter weaved into the surroundings. Mephistopheles, Saijou, was sitting on a bench in the Eastern District's park, waiting for Mao to contact him. The elementary school students, ignoring the brisk wind, fought to get to the sandbox and the slide. Saijou thought of his own sister, and of the detective who was in charge of the investigation. Saijou had choked her to death. Jesus. That sister, who had just started school, whom he loved so much. So, choking people to death is your way of showing affection, huh? Interesting. That smiling angelic face, which unbeknownst to him, suddenly had eyeballs budging out of their sockets. You killed her. No. That's right. She didn't die. Denying what you did? His sister loved him. They would hold hands and go to school together. When bathing, she'd scrub him from top to bottom. She never forgot to give him a good night's kiss. In other words, she must have loved him deeply, and choking her to death is how you repay her. What was wrong with what he did? Everything? Flowers are meant to be picked when they're the most beautiful. Saijou hadn't killed her. He just made her his. That totally doesn't sound creepy. It's just that these annoying police exaggerated the matter and forced punishment upon him. He spent those long, hard years, the years before he became a legal adult, in that building with the high fences. Should have kept you there. Mau's call came. Actually, no. They should have just simply executed you. Keeping someone like you alive would just be a waste of taxpayer money.
こんな町外れの公園までは連中も追ってこないようだ。
油断なさらないよ。
分かっている。あと3人殺すまでは町を離れられない。
Yoshida Kimiko, the woman he had failed to kill earlier. Kanisaki Ikuko, the figure skating coach. And the girl named Usami Haru. His heart was aquiver with anticipation for the murderous plans that would be presented to him in the future.
今アイスアリーナに来ていましてね。
One could almost hear the ecstasy drip from Mao's words.
明日からまたグランドシリーズファイナルという大会が始まるのです。世界6カ国で開催された大会の最後の決勝戦とでも言うべき華々しい内容です。
Saiju wanted to ask, just what the hell are you talking about? However, not wanting to risk hindering their relationship, he stopped himself.
しかし、初戦は賞金戦です。運営資金に困った国際フィギュアスケート連合が主催する見せ物。それが証拠に、昨シーズンの世界チャンピオンなどは敗北を恐れ、自らの名誉を守るために出場を辞退するのも通例となっている。
Saiju could only mumble some vague confirmations in response.
昨年から導入された新採点方式もフィギュアをつまらなくしている。確かに不正を防ぐ意味で一定の効果を上げているのは認めよう。問題はプログラムだ。今のルールではジャンプを飛べる回数も決まっているし、リンクの端から端まで見事なスパイラルを続ける必要もない。その結果どうなったか。どいつもこいつも似たような演技ばかりではないか。減点を恐れ挑戦的なプログラムを避けている。派手な転倒など見なくなった。一体どこがフリースケーティングだというのか。
You've sure done a lot of very recent research on figure skating. Unbelievably, Mao sighed. This made Saiju a bit insecure.
例えば私は浅井カノンよりも瀬田真紀子を評価する。理由は基本的なスケーティング技術だ。動きも曲にマッチして非常に美しい。苦境を乗り越え地味な努力を重ねていることがわかる。しかし回転数の多いジャンプ一つで順位がひっくり返ってしまった。容姿が良く受けのいい決め技を持つ人間が勝利する。おかしな時代になってしまったものだ。
Saiju finally understood his comrade's grievances. Thinking about things clearly, each target up until now has had something to do with figure skating.
いや、申し訳ない。つい長話になってしまいました。
魔王、一つ聞きたい。
His suspicions slipped out of his mouth.
魔王はこの国の現状を憂い、革命を志しているのではなかったか。やけにスケートにこだわるのはなぜだ。
The mysteries just keep piling up. The targets were scum, but still only normal civilians. Why don't the names of greater evils such as government leaders and the masterminds behind religious organizations appear on the list? As he pondered this point, he let up a bit.
今さらすまない。頭の鋭いお前にしかわからない事情があるのかもしれんな。
Saiju didn't want to be hated by the only person to understand him in decades. And Mao had helped him get out of trouble just yesterday.
いいえ。あなたの疑問はもっともだ。
というと？
私はただフィギュアスケートの現状を嘆いているだけなのです。金儲けに走った連中をこの世から抹殺したかった。そのために利用したのです。
Mao spoke bitterly. Incredibly, flames of anger didn't roar within Saijo's chest. The emotions of an event long forgotten flowed to his heart once again. He remembered a time when his sister broke a toy that he treasured. He remembered his sister coming to him with an honest apology.
これまで協力していただいて感謝します。
Saijo's hand trembled, shaking the phone it held.
ひとまず西日本に逃げるとよろしいでしょう。新幹線もいいですが、夜行バスやフェリーを駆使した方がより安全と言えます。福岡まで着いたらまたご連絡を。 台湾行きの船を用意しておきますので、口座を教えていただければ逃走資金を振り込ませて。
待て魔王。
Words burst forth from his mouth.
誰も降りるとは言っていない。
しかし、
いや、やらせてもらおう。
なぜです？
Seijou made his decision and sighed.
私もお前を騙していたからだ。大日本革新義塾などという組織は存在しない。いや、あるにはあるが、代表も広報も作戦参謀も全部たった一人の構成員が兼任している。つまり、私だ。
Okay, you done? Anyway, I guess that would explain why Hosami not being able to come across information about this school of yours is proving difficult. Because as far as wider society is concerned, it does not exist.
なんと。
世間は私を異常者だと決めつけている。しかし、お前は私を立てて熱意のこもったメッセージを送ってくれた。実力のない私を英雄だと言った。
Is murdering your sister in cold blood the one that you claim to love in order to make her yours not the acts of a social deviant, good sir? Just curious. There would be no more hesitation. No matter what Mao's true goal was, he would still be Seijou's friend.
教えてくれ。
Well, that...
魔王が最も殺したいのは例の3人ではないのだろう。真の標的は。
You know, if you weren't such a scumbag yourself, I'd almost feel bad for you. Since you're just being played real hard even now by Devilman here. Despite actually seeing him as basically a friend of yours by this point. Seijou said a name. Mao gave a short answer. Yes.
協力しよう。さあ、指示をくれ。
He didn't know when, but the sounds of the children playing in the park had completely disappeared. Now you scared off the children, you bastard. Shame on you.
チース
Hello. Really? Your common courtesy is out the window already? After dinner, Usami suddenly popped in.
あったかいなこの家は。
Aw, does your place not have a heater? Don't curl up on the sofa. Get up. You shut up! Usami, curl wherever you want. Usami rolled around on my couch in her uniform. After a while, she stood up.
いや、それにしても、まるで社会とのつながりを持とうとしない人の追跡は難しいですね。
I would sure hope so. Although in this case, maybe I shouldn't. Any leads? Usami shook her head wryly.
電話の請求書があってチェックしましたが、自分と同じくらい安い通話料でした。
That means, like you, he has no friends. Fuck off, Kyosuke.
仕事はどうにも日雇いの現場作業なんかがメインみたいですね。ヘルメットと軍手も見つかりましたし、人材派遣会社に登録しているらしく、いくらか給与明細がありました。
So he lived a life without a steady job.
きっちりした真面目な人物です。風俗の会員証とか馬券の切れ端とか、そういうのは見当たりませんでしたし、自炊の跡もありましたし、アイロンやズボンプレッサーもありました。
I guess that just goes to show you that sometimes it's the people like that who can be the most dangerous.
手がかりになりそうなのは唯一。
Just then, a sound rang out from the front door. Hello, Kanan.
たったいま
I had given Kanan a spare key to the room.
チース
キース
What's wrong with these two? What's wrong with you? They're just greeting each other.
やあやあ、うさみんよくいらっしゃいました。汚い家ですが、どうぞごゆっくり。
This is my place.
いや、せっかくだけどもう帰るよ。
Oh. Oh. Hey. She just said something about a lead.
なんで？遊ぼうよ。
Maybe she just doesn't want to say this information in front of Kanan. For some reason, Usami kept glancing at my bed.
では。
In a hurry, her back slumped, she left.
ねえねえ。うさみん何しに来たの？
Pizza. She came over to discuss pizza with me. Who knows? To get out of the cold, maybe?
そういえばうさみんってあの格好で寒くないのかな？
A reasonable question, Kanan. Probably. Let's just chalk it up to her strange nature.
ふーん？
What are you looking at? Why is your face so close to mine? I could see myself reflected in her eyes.
なんか隠してるな。
What?
ソファーが荒れてるぞ。うさみんと何してたんだ？
It's not what I did. We didn't do anything, okay? Wait, that's... There was a cell phone on the sofa. I think it's Usami's. Must have fallen out when she was rolling around.
ゴロゴロしてたの？
By herself, yes. Oh, well, I'll give it to her at school tomorrow. Just chase after her! For God's sake!
うん。なんかおかしいな。最近パパも構ってくれないし、のんちゃんの周りで事件が起こってるぞ。これは。
Papa's just busy with his end-of-year responsibilities.
コーチの周りにパパの部下みたいな人がいるのもおかしいぞ。
That's so. I knew she'd notice.
コーチ、守られてるみたいだったよ。トイレの前までついてくるんだもん。
I don't think a lie would work here.
なんでコーチが守られてるのかな？ヒルトン先生とか大会の偉い人とかならわかるけど。兄さんどう思う？
I don't know. Stop talking and go take your bath.
さては兄さんも来るだな。のんちゃんを驚かせようったってそうはいかないぞ。
Don't worry about it. Didn't you say you had no interest in anything besides skating?
あ、そうだった。兄さんいいこと言うな。
Her smile was immediately restored. The finals start tomorrow, right?
女子はしあさってからね。
Alright, then hurry up and take a bath. She skipped over to the changing room. If she wasn't able to change moods that quickly, there's a chance she wouldn't be as famous as she is now. Just a single performance from her can have a major influence on a number of people. Whether or not a jump is successful will change the number of spectators and the mood of the sponsor. And this time her performance is even related to a death threat. If she worried about every little thing, she wouldn't be able to do what she does. Of course, her continuous practice has taken away a normal school life. And there's no such thing as a person who ignores everything else and just lives to skate. Because humans aren't machines. Behind Kanan's casual smile lies a mountain of bottled up emotions. If she found out that her mother's life was in danger, Haru wandered through the residential district. There was no wind. The air was dry. It was only moments past noon, and from time to time she spotted mothers who had just finished preparing lunch. After turning around at the same corner for the third time, Haru concluded that she wasn't cut out for stakeouts after all. Carrying a convenience store bag just wasn't enough to disguise her as a normal pedestrian. Wearing her uniform in a peaceful residential area during school hours already made her an attention grabber. Forget about her hair. The target of her stakeout was the hospital she had now walked past numerous times. Its grand entrance bore the sign, Internal Medicine and Neurology. The idea behind the observation came from the hospital issue medication bag she had found the night before in a trash heap near Saijou's house. Inside the torn package was a slip of paper of the medicine's warnings and directions. This told Haru that Saijou had some neurological disease. After finding 3 baggies in the same garbage bag, she inferred that he visits the hospital quite often.
寒いよ。
Somebody get this poor girl a fur coat. The chances might be slim, though. She'll be back to square one if he decided to change hospitals. Mao would probably foresee this and command him to do so. Saijou's house was searched, so it would be natural for the two to conclude that the Yakuza were lurking near the hospital. Even so, Haru insists on performing this stakeout alone. She had her reasons. The pill bags were not in the trash heap the day before yesterday. They were nowhere to be found when she had fallen into Mao's trap and determined that Saijou had fled to the Plaza Hotel. And of a whopping 3 of them in total, Haru found it hard to believe that she had simply missed them. In other words, someone left them there after the first search. Horibi and his cronies believed that Saijou would never return to his room, so no men were spared to guard the apartment. Thus, if someone did indeed return, nobody would have known. But that someone was not Saijou. It was Mao. Haru's hypothesis ran like so. Unlike Saijou, Mao had never revealed himself. Why then would he hesitate to come face to face with men from the Yakuza? He could walk right by them and they'd never be the wiser. As for Mao's motive behind planting the medication bags in Saijou's trash, Haru bit her lip again as the thought forced itself upon her mind. The taste of her previous defeat still lingered in her mouth. It was probably some attempt at sparking another game.
寒い。
Let's just hope I don't get in trouble for this, Haru thought. It should be okay. I'm over 18 after all. The Grand Prix of figure skating finals were slated to begin today. Figure skating fanatic Aizawa Eiichi skipped school to watch the men's match, which starts on the first day. Hey, Tsubaki, where's Asami?
来てないみたいだね。どうしたの？
Nah, she just left her cell phone in my apartment yesterday.
そうなんだ。私が預かっておこうか？
Tsubaki only suggested that because she knew I was likely to miss Usame due to my skipping. Nah, it's no big deal. Usame, you strange girl. What's going on? Last night you said you got a hold of a clue. Are you moving ahead on your own? Mao was right. Saijou sat alone in the back seat of a rented car. He pulled the newly bought curtain open just the slightest bit, carefully took a peek at the hospital outside the car window, and found the girl wandering about as expected. Her name was Asami Haru, a member of the Yakuza, and the girl who claimed to be Fujiwara Norika when they met on the docks. Mao described this girl with ghostly long hair as his greatest obstacle. He had warned Saijou about the outstanding insight hidden behind her dispirited appearance and actions, but Saijou found it hard to believe. She paced back and forth in the residential area with her arms wrapped around herself, probably trying to shield herself from the cold. Saijou ruminated on Mao's advice. Kill her if you get the chance. Usami will probably be the only one to notice the trap behind the medicine bags. Detectives know to watch the scene of the crime, but the Mafia would never discover the truth. They'll just start searching elsewhere after they conclude you won't be returning to the apartment. Mawu was absolutely right. Saijo glanced around, and no signs of Yakuza were anywhere to be seen. When the time is right, engage her at your own discretion. Remember that Usami may be leading some thugs. Even if you find Usami alone, don't forget the possibility of others hiding nearby. Lastly, when you launch your attack, snatch Usami's phone away from her as a first priority. Separate her from her reinforcements. He would pull Usami into the car and then find a quiet spot to kill her. Mawu would take care of the corpse. Okay, now where do I go from here? In the end, Usami never came to class. I'm probably overthinking this. I don't think you are. Still, Usami didn't seem to be the type to skip school for no reason. And I had no way of contacting her. I know surprisingly little about Usami. Well, there is that one little remark I remember you making in the last episode, thinking that this Usami Haru and another Usami that you remember that you know about couldn't possibly be the same person. If you're wrong and they are the same person, then, well, I think you know more about Usami than you think you do, right? Her address is a mystery. Whether she lives by herself or not isn't really clear either. Just as I was mindlessly staring at Usami's cell phone, it rang. Who could it be? The number didn't seem to be one Usami had saved as a contact. So it's probably not Tsubaki or Kanan. Could it be Tokita Yuki? No. Judging from Usami's behavior, there's no way she'd muster the courage to make that call yet. So that makes this a friend of Usami's whom I have no knowledge of. The phone continues to ring. Alright, here goes. I decide to answer it. And press the call button. I'll just keep silent for a moment. Only, this moment would go by a lot faster if the caller would introduce herself. She must be calling from some quiet place, as there's no background noise at all. To the point I'm starting to believe she's holding her breath. This must not be a very close friend of hers. But then again, a lot of Usami's friends are weirdos, so you can never be sure. Dozens of seconds pass, yet we both remain silent. I would just break the silence at this point. What a deadlock. May I ask who this is? After pausing for a few seconds, the caller responded.
私は宇佐美春の叔父にあたるものです。
Assuming you were actually telling the truth, I didn't know Usami had an uncle. Man's voice. He sounds like he's in his 30s.
この番号は宇佐美のものかと思いましたが。
Yeah, I'm Usami's friend. She left her cell phone somewhere, so I'm holding on to it for now.
携帯を落とした。
If your business is urgent, I can pass a message on to her. What was your name again?
ああ、川島です。またかけ直しますので。
He hung up after he finished. There was something unnatural about that conversation just now, wasn't there? Indeed, there was. No doubt about it. Right. It's nothing more than a hunch, but the man claimed to be her uncle just now. How many kids nowadays are willing to give their uncle their phone number? The ones that do must be really close with them, right? However, if that was her dear uncle, why would he ask if he had the right number? Why would he call her by her surname? Of course, there might be some complicated relationship between the two. Even so, that uncle was too cautious to start talking before I did. It was too creepy to be true, even for a relative of Usami. The first thing that comes to mind is that the man just now was Senjou. When Usami met him in the Western District, she gave him her phone number. Senjou, for some reason, was trying to make contact with Usami. It ain't Senjou. Why? If Senjou's already on Mau's side, then there's no way he doesn't know Usami's identity. If he's already clear about Usami, then what was his intention in calling her? Though I'm still a bit confused, I better find Usami as soon as possible. I should get in touch with Haribi first, though, and make sure they're on standby. Usami didn't have her telephone for her right now. Senjou sneered. A man who seemed to be Usami's friend picked up the phone. Okay, I guess that was him. He said that Usami had dropped her cell phone. Though his silence at first made Senjou suspicious, Usami just continued walking. There was no indication that she took a phone call. Kill her if you get the chance. He had already driven around the area many times, and there was no one nearby that looked like Yakuza. Okay, let's do this. Usami rounded a corner, leaving Senjou's line of sight. Nevertheless, she'd come back again sooner or later. Senjou left the car and hid himself behind the corner she'd be returning around. Let's catch her off guard, shall we? He leaned against a telephone pole, listening carefully. Tap, tap. The clear sounds of footsteps rang in his ears. Senjou reached into his coat pocket. Inside was a spray women use for self-defense against molesters. Once one sprays it in a target's face, he'll tear up and sneeze continuously for a short period of time, ultimately losing the ability to defend himself. Fortunately, there are no passerby in sight. Usami's footsteps grew louder. Because of Mau's trap, her attention should be focused on the hospital entrance right about now. It was her only lead in catching Senjou, so she had no choice but to follow it. The bravery required to face this alone, despite recognizing it as a trap, is worthy of praise. She was approaching. Very soon she'd be turning this way. Oh, Usami! I hope you're good at ducking at a moment's notice. Senjou held the spray tight in his pocket. Hoping to scare Usami into a momentary daze, he quickly dashed out from the street corner. And immediately thereafter, he grew as still as a statue. It wasn't Usami. The fingertip already placed on the spray's trigger froze. However, he was already out of the corner. The slowly approaching footsteps had not come from Usami, but a passing businessman. Because he had been spying on Usami from inside the quiet car, he had been able to distinguish those footsteps from those of his target. The man gave Senjou a suspicious glare, then passed him by.
Domo.
Well, looks like she got the drop on you. A shy-toned voice spoke up. A young, hunched-over girl with her hands in her pockets stood before him. Senjou was outraged and stepped straight for the girl.
お久しぶりです。前にお会いしましたよね。
Senjou was not shaken at all. He simply nodded. Huh. I was expecting a face with a full beard.
何持ってらっしゃるんですか？お化粧品ですか？
She was referring to the spray. The girl might be alarmed by it, as she slanted to the side and stared at Senjou without blinking. Saijo returned to spray to his pocket and observed his opponent's actions.
あ、サインどうです？
サイン？
ほら、ユグムントさんのサインです。バレエダンサーの。もらえるっておっしゃってましたよね。
What's she up to this time? He knows he looked puzzled. Could Usami possibly think he doesn't know of her identity yet?
そんな約束をしたかな、宇佐美。
え？宇佐美？
The girl had a vacant look on her face.
自分藤原ですけど。
She said, tilting her head slightly.
嘘をつくな。
はい？
とぼけても無駄だ。お前は宇佐美春。暴力団の手先だろ。
Saijo used a strong tone. He wanted to shut her up as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, on the shoulder of the road, two housewives had stopped walking and started yakking.
どうしたんですか？学生証を見せましょうか？
Usami began to rummage through the pocket of her uniform.
あれ、どこかな。ちょっと待ってくださいね。いっぱい物入れてるから。
いや、いい。勘違いだった。
Deciding to just play along for now, Saijo reached out and stopped Usami.
あなたは探偵さんとかですか？
どうしてそう思うんだ？
いや、宇佐美って女を探しているのかなと。前会った時もなんか血とか見ましたし。
探しているとしたらなんだ？
はあ、いや、まあ自分に協力できることがあればと。
では聞きたい。さっきからなぜここら辺をうろついていたんだ？
え？
Her eyes shot open in a panic.
何のことでしょう？
警察に連絡してやってもいいんだぞ。
Usami seemed to have given up on resisting, as she just answered weakly.
いえ、実はこの近くに私の大好きな人の家がありまして。
やっぱりストーカーじゃないか。
すみません。でもその人のことは本当昔からでして。携帯の番号はおろか、メールアドすら暗記してます。
You really know how to act, Saijo thought. But how long should I keep up this farce?
詳しく話を聞きたい。
と言いますと？
事務所まで来てもらおうか。
Saijo made use of the situation and spoke as if he were a real detective. He took a look around. Excuse me. The housewives were still standing there making a ruckus.
いや、知らない人についていってはいけないと習ってまして。
なら警察に通報する。
Suddenly, Usami's expression showed a complete reversal of mood.
警察に通報されると困るのはあなたじゃないですか、西条さん。
何？
He released her arm right away. Saijo's heart began to quiver before why am I having trouble reading this word right now? Inquisitional tone in eyes.
魔王はお元気ですか？先日はやってくれましたね。
何の真似だ、宇佐美春。
もうおしまいですよ。浅井権蔵さんに喧嘩をふっかけた以上、法の裁きも期待しない方がいい。
大した自信だな。私を捕まえてから言え。
あなたはもう終わりです。
くだ。
You're the one about to die. Saijo took another look down the road. The meddling housewives were nowhere to be seen.
どうか今のうちに自首してください。警察に逃げ込むのがあなたが唯一助かる道です。
そんな話をしに一人でのこのこ現れたのか？
言っておきますが、私を捕まえようとしても無駄です。誰にも話したことはありませんが、格闘には自信があります。
She bent her knees slightly as she spoke.
例えば、あなたが今懐に隠し持っているスプレーですが、まず風向きを考えましょう。あなたは風下にいます。この意味がわかりますか？
Honestly, I would have kept quiet about that here and let him find out the hard way about, being downwind. Saiju fell silent.
さらに今さら逃げようとしても無駄です。私はこの辺りの地図を頭に叩き込んでいます。あなたのような引きこもりとは違う。
A violent aura exuded from her every pore. Her eyes. A teenage girl would be the last person you expect to find them with. Steel-cold emotions, slowly explaining the logic behind everything. And that tone. Oh, that tone. It was like speaking to the mirror image of Maul. Still, Usami was a fool. She thought his only weapon was a spray. She must have forgotten. A man from the Yakuza lost quite a bit of blood just a day before yesterday. Saiju idly wondered if that man had died yet. He had been stabbed right in the face and fell into a seizure straight away.
わかった。私もこれまでということだな。
Saiju arranged his breath and tightly gripped the knife in his pocket.
降参ですか？
あ
あ。結構です。
Though her voice softened, Usami's gaze showed no sign of letting her guard down. She'd been staring at Saiju's pocket the whole time. But even so, at such a close distance, she had no chance of stopping him. If your eyes met theirs, they should be killed. Mau's words floated to his mind. His hand shook. Though there was no hesitation, it seemed murder was not something he had grown accustomed to. He slightly adjusted the knife's position. Violent heartbeats threatened to tear his chest asunder. The girl's eyes widened slightly. She started to look around, as if waking from a dream. Saiju made his decision in the same split second. Now's my chance. Saiju gave his body to the bloodlust. For some reason, his murdered sister's face superimposed onto Usami's. Suddenly, the sharp screech of tires shearing the ground and pierced his ears, and the hand that held the knife hesitated. Huh? A luxury car known to be favored by Yakuza came to a sudden stop and parked behind Saiju. Another parked in front of him. Well, you're fucked. The swarm of vehicles continued to grow until the road had been completely sealed. 3 or 4 huge men, some bald, some with crew cuts, kicked the doors open and jumped out of the cars. What? How on earth? One Yakuza screamed. Saiju, like a deer caught in the headlights, failed to give proper resistance. He merely shielded his head and chest with his arms. But how? There's no way. Saiju was forced onto the ground in the blink of an eye, and their fists landed on him like raindrops.
早く逃げるべきでしたね、西条さん。
A sound poured down on him alongside the violence. He thought for a moment that had been his sister's voice, but that, of course, would be impossible.
なぜだ、宇佐美!
Though Saiju had already been pressed to the ground by the strong men, the confusion in his mind still screamed out.
どうやってこんなこいつらを貴様!
Actually, I think I summoned them. Usami looked like she didn't know how to answer. She shook her head.
どうやってと言われましても、携帯で連絡を取っただけですが。
携帯
ははなんで逃げないのかと思ったらそういうことですか。私が携帯を1つしか持っていないと勘違いしていたんですね。2
つ持っていたんだな。
ええ、まあ今時の女子学園生は誰でも2つ持っています。というのは嘘で、もう一つの携帯はあなたの飼い主から先月プレゼントされたものですよ。
Text message. When? She didn't have time to spare. Saijo racked his brain to the limit, hoping to find an answer.
覚醒書を出そうとしてポケットの中を探っていた時だな。
惜しい。
何？
しかしそれでは私は今頃あなたに殺されていたかもしれません。
いつだ？
多分あなたがここに来た時です。日が暮れ始めた頃に見慣れない乗用車が停車しているものですから、さりげなく中を覗いてみました。
しかしあの車はカーテンがあって外から中の様子は見えないはずだ。
ええ、あなたの顔までは見えませんでした。しかし人影くらいは見えました。運転席ではなく後部座席に座っていたのが運の月でしたね。
It was Mao who advised sitting in the back seat.
後部座席に座れば運転手か誰か人を待っている風を装うことができる。付近の住民や通行人の目もいくらか緩和されます。
This girl one-upped Mao? Saijo finally understood why men like Mao would be cautious about an everyday schoolgirl like her.
あなたの車は一向に発進する気配がありません。狙いは私なのではないかと思っても不思議はないでしょう。そもそも薬袋の罠から始まったのですから。
襲撃すらも予期していたと。
こんな住宅地です。あなたが私を襲うとしたら通りの角を曲がった瞬間でしょう。そう思って角を曲がるとき、私は必ず誰かと一緒でした。
Saijo thought back on it. He had only heard one set of footsteps as he prepared to ambush Usami. Only the footsteps of the male commuter. Usami must have been walking quietly, ready for him.
あなたと相対した後は適当なことを喋って時間を稼ぐだけでした。
Saijo was stunned. His actions had been seen through from the very beginning. The world around him grew dark. A voice evolved in Saijo's ears as he lay in the lightless pit. Don't. Uni-chan. He gave himself to the concrete, exhausted. The fists of the men around him greeted his face repeatedly. It was a tragic scene. He could only withstand the shower of blows. Blows so tenaciously brutal that it was hard to even imagine their deliverers as human. I'm scared. Don't kill me. Voice echoed in his ears. Don't kill me, Oni-chan.
お疲れ様でした。
His sister's nostalgic voice was suddenly cut off. Not bad. Not bad at all, Usami. I think I'll go ahead and end things here. Something tells me that this scene will go on for a little longer than a few minutes. I could be very wrong, though, but I guess I'll find out next time, won't I? Still, hey, we caught the accomplice. So now the big question I got is, now that we got him, how is Mao going to respond? Again, I guess we'll find out next time. I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of The Devil on G-String. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you all next time. Take care.